Today will be the best day of my life.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
It is now time for the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwinnett, Westbrook, and Mr. Dumas.
Good evening. Welcome to the Naacp Truth. We have a lot of good information for you today, and we want to continue to update you on everything that we can possibly give to make sure that you are continue to be educated on, so you will know what to do, when to do, and how to do. Mr. Dumas will not be here today. In his he had death in his family. We're asking for you all to pray for his family. He lost his sister on yesterday, and so we want him to know that we're keeping him and his family in prayer. Want to go ahead on and get some announcements out first up front before we go into some of the concerns that we want to speak on today. We have an announcement with Bibb County Sheriff Office is going to be announcing the Bibb County Nights to Unite event, and that will be on October the 12th, 2023. It says this year our Night to Unite is scheduled for the Thursday, October 12th, 2023. Neighborhoods throughout Macon Bibb County will be hosting individual celebrations. Night to Unite includes a display of outdoor lights and front porch vigils, block parties, cookouts, visits from the sheriff's office, flashlights, walks and youth events. So we're encouraging everyone to please involve yourself in the night out, which is held October the 12th. October the 12th. Our Miss Idonia Jackson, who is over our Veterans Affairs for the NAACP, she's over the neighborhood watch at Bartlett Crossing. So just make sure that you participate in one of those community events on October the 12th. Also, the NAACP, we will be having our Earl T. Shinholster's Freedom Fund Awards banquet. That event will be October the 21st, 2023 at Union Baptist at 5 o'clock. We will be awarding some people that have dedicated their times and tireless efforts to make a difference in our community, and we will also be honoring those people on October the 21st. Our speaker for that event will be none other than Dr. Wanda West. She's an awesome speaker. I think, if I'm not mistaken, since I've been a member of the NAACP since 1999, I can't remember having a woman speaker. So I don't want to say that for sure, but that's my recollection. This will be our first woman speaker for the event. Earl T. Shinholster's recipients for that night. We do have other awards that we'll be giving categories but our Earl T. Shinholster's recipients this year will be our District Attorney Anita Howard and our very own Commissioner Elaine Lucas. So we will be honoring those two as Earl T. Shinholster's recipients. We do have other categories, as I stated. We have a music category. We have our youth category. We have a WIN category, Women in the NAACP. We have an organization award. We have, like I said, we have different awards, community, church awards. So we have different categories that we give awards out in. But the tickets are $50 per person. We're asking for you to please come and support this event. The tickets are $50. The ads are $100 for a full page ad and $50 for half page ads. We do have different categories that different um, table settings that you can purchase a table for. But we ask for you to please, you know, share the information because the monies that the monies that we're that the monies that we raise, the money goes back into the community uh, in ways that we're able to help people. So the money that we raise is not given to the members of the branch. All the monies are put back into the community. So that's why it's so very important. We are a nonprofit organization. We have to raise funds to keep our branch abreast to be able to help people in the community. So we're asking for your support. You can make donations by check to the Macon Bibb NACP post office post office box 6452 Macon, Georgia 31208. You can also cash app your any donations to $ make them be up in AACP. Just make sure you make a note if you're going to purchase a ticket. Make a note with a phone number and a name so we can get your tickets to you or your ad. But we are asking for you to support our Freedom Fund Banquet. This is one of our fundraisers that one of our largest fundraisers that we do every year. But we're just asking for your support. Memberships are $50. Memberships are $30 per year. That's $30 annually. Where we're asking for your membership and your support to work in this organization. This organization has been around since 1909. It's actually the oldest organization, and we're not putting any other organization down, or we're not saying that any other organization is not needed. But this organization is going to be there. We've been there, and we've helped a lot of people in this community. A lot of times you may not see the NAACP in the media all the time, but I promise you, we do a lot of work behind the scene that a lot of people do not know about. And you know, we're gonna be coming up with our website so we can put all this stuff on the website so you can see what we do. But we ask for your membership and support so we can be able to work and where we will be able to conquer any obstacle, any issues that come our way. It take money and it also take people to be able to help with these different categories of issues that we have. We deal with housing, education, health, voting protection, all these different categories that we deal with. We need people in place to be able to help us handle these issues and fight against any inequality and make sure that justice is prevailed. Okay, we're gonna go into our program. Um, I know that you all, and we're really big. A lot of we deal with a lot of issues, but housing is something that is very critical right now, and it's always been. But since COVID, um, in 2000, actually, I think it was 19 that it actually started. We've seen a lot of issues with housing, with landlords not um, making appropriate repairs to properties, um, causing tenants to lose housing vouchers because they're not not losing their housing vouchers, but basically sometimes causing them to be homeless because if they don't repair something, it's a little different than you being a private owner. And even if you're a private owner, if you have people that have housing vouchers, the housing, they want you to make the necessary repairs within a certain time limit. And so if you don't do that, then they don't pay. And what happens, it falls back on the tenant. And most of the time, they ask the tenant, they won't renew the tenant's lease, or they'll ask the tenant file an eviction against the tenant for not receiving payment. But it's actually their fault. And a lot of times, the property owners don't want to invest in the properties. They're collecting rent every month, but they don't want to fix the necessary repairs for the properties. And some of these properties, they have some very serious repairs that need to be done, especially one apartment complex that we're dealing with. It's a lot of electrical problems in those apartment complexes, and fires have actually been have taken place at these apartment complexes. Code enforcement has been involved with these apartment complexes, but you got a lot of different repairs that's required. But when it comes to electrical and fires, um, to me, in my opinion, then we need to be moving folks out. When apartments start catching the fire, and you got more than a couple apartments have already caught fire, then we need to be trying to get somebody out there to check, because all of them are the same way. They have electrical issues. That's very, people could lose their lives. A fire breakout and you're asleep, and a lot of times, you have a smoke detectors in these apartments, but smoke makes people actually sleep, make them sleepier, because you know, the smoke is there, and a lot of people don't wake up. So when you have electrical problems, that's something that got to be dealt with, and we got to bring that to somebody and make them aware of it, to make sure that these issues are properly taken care of. And that's something that the NACP is working with code enforcement, and making sure these apartments um, get get repaired. Also, and I am a paralegal, and some things that the NAACP does not handle, I can help tenants with, help different people with, that the NAACP are not able to help, because they do not give legal advice. I don't even give legal advice, but I am a paralegal, and I can help people, prepare forms and different things like that. But we gotta be careful when we start trying to evict people. Make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, because some people will fight back. Most of the time people go into these courts, they don't have attorneys, and they'll try to work with you to say, if you pay this, then we won't file the eviction. But a lot of times people have their receipts, and a lot of times we get complaints where people go into court and not able to present their information into courts. But some people will fight back. Now, I know, we was dealing with an apartment complex here recently, and um, we talked about we talked about Green Meadows, with a number of where the county the took over that property because of the 911 calls, and the number one 911 calls, and because of the safety. But we have other apartment complexes in this same situation, and we pulled the information, we have the data. So, but we gotta, it's housing authority property, and I'm gonna say it. We have a lot of shootings and different things like that in Bartlett Crossing. That's a housing authority property, but it has to be addressed, and it has to be made aware of. We gotta, we're gonna be looking at one property, then we got to be looking at all, the properties that have safety issues. Because when we pulled it, Bartlett Crossing has just as many 911 calls, and I'm pretty sure it's most likely more shootings in that area than Green Meadows. But for some reason, a lot of times people don't want to touch housing authority properties, but housing authority is not doing what they need to do to make sure people are safe. Um, Landlords, when you have issues like this where there's a lot of shooting and different things like that, it's the landlord's responsibility to make sure that their tenants are protected. And sometimes, and that's why I tell tenants, at the same time, you gotta make sure that, people say, well, that they was just visiting, but you are, in your lease, it tells you that you're responsible for your visitors. You're responsible for your visitors' actions, behavior, and all that. If you invite them to your apartment, if they do something in your apartment, you're actually responsible. You're the ones that's going to be evicted because of your guest behavior. So, I encourage tenants to read their leases carefully, to make sure that you understand your lease. If you don't, you need to ask questions, because you know, I'm to the point now where I want to actually, have town hall meetings with different tenants, because a lot of times they don't understand. They're not reading their leases. They just looking at the fact that, the amount that they have to pay. But you need to read your lease very carefully. And some of the things that I'm seeing also is that a person is given their initial lease 3 or 4 years ago, but then they have them come back every month and sign a redetermination, recertification letter. But if something has changed in the lease, then you don't know something has changed in the lease. For example, some people, the water may be no longer included, but that's not what your lease says. Your lease said that the water is included. You signed a recertification, but it's changed, and that change is not what's being put in your recertification, that now you're having to pay water. So that's something that you can dispute. A lot of times people are, uh, they're not supposed to make changes in your lease if you got a 12-month lease, make changes in your lease within that 12 months. Um, Especially dealing with people that have vouchers. They have to wait until your lease is up before they can make changes as far as increasing your rent and different things like that. So just make sure that you read over your lease. I know that you all, and I don't know if many of you, and I'm giving this information today, where the Atlanta mayor, um, and attorney being Crump, the Atlanta mayor Andre Dickens, and the attorney, being Crump, has announced filing a lawsuit against the owners of Forest Cove Apartments. And from what I'm understanding, that a lawsuit was filed against the city, but then they did a rebuttal lawsuit, um, against the owners of Forest Cove Apartments, which in slash Millennia Housing. And so, regarding dilapidated apartments, uh, in the Atlanta area. So we're still in Georgia, and what they're saying is, a lot of the housing, people are supposed to be able to live in safe housing with safe living conditions, and that's not what's been happening. The city has been having to um, uh, make necessary repairs and different things like that, similar to something that our mayor has taken over with Green Meadows, making sure that tenants are, repairs and different things are done. So what it's saying is that this lawsuit could expand into in the next few weeks to include other cities with similar housing, with similar, against similar housing companies. So that means that, for example, if you got a housing complex that has the same issues, there may be other lawsuits that being Crump could be handling right here in Macon, just depending on, if someone decides to file a lawsuit because of you have an apartment complex that has gotten that bad, where tenants are not able to live, to have safe living conditions. And so that's something that you just want to keep a watch on, because we do have property owners here that we have these same issues out of, and they're not, um, making necessary repairs, and they're not. You just got poor conditions in housing, and sometimes, I'm gonna be honest while we're talking. Sometimes people tear up apartments and housing, and that do happen. So that's why I encourage even the landlords and the tenants, when you rent rent housings, not giving legal advice, but just as common sense. When you do a walkthrough, you need to write down everything that's not right. that you think need to be repaired, because they could come back and say that you tore it up. So just make sure that you do a walkthrough and you identify things that are not that you see that may need repairs to before you actually rent, or even, you're supposed to do that before you actually sign your paperwork, to make sure that there's nothing that needs to be repaired. So that could be, I'm not talking about just necessary repairs. You got people who are living just like um, in terrible living conditions. And some people just stay there because they know they stay there and try to deal with it and hope that they will get the repairs done, because they're hoping that they'll get done. But they do know that if they go somewhere else, they're gonna pay six, seven, eight, $900 a month because of the fair market value with housing. You have someone living in a house that's been living in an apartment for 5 years, and they increase your rent, you know, in increments. They just don't take it up. But somebody, you could be paying 550 a month for rent, and then next year when your rent go up, you may pay 575. But somebody that's moving in the same apartment may come in a one bedroom like you have and pay $700 a month because of the fair market value. But I know our Senator Ossoff is making proposing some bills, and he's looking at some things dealing with housing. Um, I know that he's come up with the bipartisan legislation to help public servants, called the Helpers Act, to live within the area where they work. And so he's been very good about passing bills that actually benefit our communities and society. So we just want to make sure that we keep a watch, listen to the news. There's so much stuff actually on your phone. I have news on my phone, so anytime something goes on, it automatically comes up on my phone. But just look out for these things. Uh, I'm I didn't quite get the information on it. One of my members, I didn't have time to research it, but one of my members brought it to my attention, and I haven't seen it yet. That they may be looking at bringing the Georgia rental systems back. Haven't given a date yet. Actually, when that will take place, but it's been mentioned that they're looking at the Georgia rental systems again. We still have people, a lot of folks that have jobs, that have income, that are still homeless because they can't afford to um, can't afford to um, housing. And another thing that I wanted to speak on is that I'm finding out a lot of the housing authority properties, when tenants are and I do plan to be at that the meeting when they have their meeting, monthly meeting. I don't know if I'll be able to speak, but it's a public meeting. Hopefully I will be able to. But tenants that are um, that leave or that are evicted, they're banned from housing authority property, and I'm gonna need an explanation of that. Just because um, if you're evicted for non-payment of rent or whatever, I don't see why you can't visit someone on the property. Um, it's a difference if you've broken the law. Uh, that could be possible, but you need to be provided something saying that you're banned. But just to ban someone off the property just because they've been evicted, to say that they can never come back on the property, or they can't visit a family member or a friend, that's a concern. And I'm finding that to be happening a lot with tenants that have been evicted from housing authority properties. That's something that we will be looking into. We're still working with Hidden Lake, and we're getting phone calls and getting information. But I want to explain to people, and I hope people are listening. If you have family members that live in Hidden Lake apartments, you need to make sure that you make them aware that they need to send the Macon Bibb branch NACP. They need to send us a printout of their statement showing these additional charges that have been um, that they're occurring. I know that they're occurring pest control, um, garbage. There are inquiring water bills, which is just so high. And even flood, the new bill that they're proposing, uh, not the new bill, the new charges that they're putting on your bill now, the water storm. Um, so what we need for you to do, if you have family members, if you're listening that live in Hidden Lake, you need to email your statement to Macon Bibb, NAACP 1909 at gmail.com. Because what's happening is we're getting complaints that they're being charged. And we've made us issued a statement on this issue. And it is a concern, but it's going to take more than 10 people um, filing a complaint with us and sending us their statement when you have 150. I'm not exactly sure the numbers, but you have 150 um, units in Hidden Lake Apartments. It's going to take more than 10 statements for us to be able to really figure out what's going on. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if the company pays a certain amount, for example, if a company pays $1,500 a month for water, and you got 150 units, and everybody's paying $200 a month for water and sewage, then you're actually paying more than um, what the cost of them paying water. So if you have 150 units and everybody's paying $200, that's $30,000 a month in a water bill. So if they, just for example, if they're paying $5,000 a month for water, $30,000, $200 a month from 150 units is $30,000 a month. That means that something is not right, especially when you got tenants who do not have a water meter. They have one water meter, and we're trying to figure out how they're charging um, the tenants the money that they're charging. In order for us, we want to get our county involved, but we got to have the numbers there. We got to be able to we may not be able to get the amount of how much the water is they're charging, but somebody can. We just need for you all to do your part, so we'll be able to, so we can help you all, because we can't have property owners taking advantage of tenants in Bibb County. Most of these owners don't even live in Macon. So if you have anyone, make sure that they get their statement to Macon Bibb, NAACP 1909 at gmail.com. We thank you for listening today. We hope that what information that we shared with you have been helpful. Thank you.
You have been listening to the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwinnett Westbrook and Mr. Dumas. Come join us next Monday at 4 o'clock p.m. on 980 WDDO.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of